and today we're gonna speak about anger management. So give me a second to share my slides, please. Abuna, it's not sharing.
Okay, اتفضل ثانية واحدة. Share screen. Yes, you can. Just give me 1 second.
Yeah, sure.
No, it is working. Okay. اتفضلي. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, it's open now. So as Abuna explained, so they're gonna speak about anger management. So the topic we're gonna cover for today is what is anger, anger versus aggression, anger causes and triggers, how anger affects us, and what are the diagnostic criteria for anger problem and the aggression cycle, anger management technique and practice, and powerful tools that we can use to manage our anger. And at the end, I will leave space for questions. So first, what is anger? So anger is an emotional state that varies in intensity from mild irritation to intense rage. Also, it's basic human emotional response. So it's like other emotions such as sadness, happiness, fear, and even disgust. And usually it's accompanied by biological and psychological changes. For example, if you're angry, your blood pressure and heart rate all goes up. Also, anger is a natural response to threats, to fight and defend ourselves when we are attacked. And it varies from person to person, from situation to situation. So for example, some people, they very easily got really angry and they have low tolerance of frustration and always wired and easily to triggered. They call them hot-headed because they always wired and ready to fight, while other people not really explaining or expressing their anger in loud ways. So, but normally they're chronically irritable and angry and grumpy. Also, strong feeling of displeasure with someone or something accompanied by an argue to fight back. So anger versus aggression. What is the differences between anger and aggression? So anger is an emotional state, it's feeling, and it's normal to feel anger, it's part of you. While aggression is the action towards someone to cause harm, and for sure is not acceptable, and for sure it's unhealthy way to express your emotions, and is not acceptable. Anger is not necessary to be negative. Anger is an alert from your body to inform you that something is wrong and you need to take an action. So for example, if your child in immediate danger and your mind automatically will gonna kick off into the fight or flight mode reaction and gonna help you to take quickly action to save your child. So in this case, anger is not really a bad thing. It's actually protects you and protected your family. However, aggression is always a negative reaction on the spot intent to harm others. Anger is acceptable behavior, as we said, just like happiness, sadness. Unlike aggression is a choice and for sure is not acceptable. So we can improve our aggression with practice, with technique, we can really improve it, but it needs lots of patience and lots of practice. So anger causes and triggers. What makes us angry? So anger can be caused by both external and internal factors. So for external factors, such as others' behavior. So yes, some people can become trigger for you and make you very angry. And it can come when they ask me about private or rude question. So for myself, private question is a huge trigger, because the nature of my work, it sometimes put me in very risky situation. And when people ask me, or people that I don't know ask me about private question and information about my family, it's really a trigger for me, because that's mean I'm going to put these people at danger as well. So not respecting boundaries or being noisy Many people doesn't really understand what is healthy boundaries, what's important that to have boundaries. And boundaries is respecting yourself by setting a line between what is me and what is not me. And it's very important to distinguish the difference between both. Joking about important subject or joking in an inappropriate way. So sense of humor, it's a great tool to diffuse your anger. It's amazing. But when you use it in an appropriate way, it will give the message to others that you don't really respect them. Messy neighbors, partner, children, especially teens, we usually listen to lots of mothers complain about and how they really got angry when the teens, the children, especially teens, not really organized and they're very messy. Sometimes happens. So loud people, yeah, that can one of the trigger as well. Places can be very triggery as well. So places that bring up bad memories. So for some people, for example, hospitals becomes very trigger. And I remember one of the cases that I was helping her out, and her son needs to follow up at the hospital, cancer care, because he has kind of anemic and he needs to see hematologist there. And we explained the son doesn't have cancer, doctor explained everything should be getting in her mind, but because she's inside the hospital, she got very triggered and experienced lots of mixing emotion from fear and sadness and overwhelming, like all this combination. And because she just entered the hospital, because she had a bad experience with hospital and she lost her husband with cancer as well. So places can be very triggering for some people. Places where you feel trapped. So some people get very triggered when they become enclosed space, for example, inside the elevator. Claustrophobia, for example, like people can't really handle when they get really triggered when we will be in small spaces. And on other side, if other people can experience if they crowded public transportation or big space with crowded people, they feel trapped as well. They feel triggered as well, and that's called agoraphobia. Waiting in long lines, we all experienced that lately with a pandemic and COVID, and how the waiting in lines is become very painful and it become very trigger for many people, and people get really angry because that. Waiting a long time for appointment, yes, if you're waiting a long time and you're not like you're feeling it that you're wasting your time or something, you're gonna get very triggery. Traffic, and I believe like in rush hour or especially in Cairo, people got crazy, not just angry because of the traffic. Bad working condition, hot, cold, risky situations. And other trigger can be from situations. So hungry, lonely, and tired, being wrongly accused, you're not trustworthy person or you did something, so and you can't really explain yourself and you feel very triggery and very angry. Cleaning up other people's mess, rumors of gossip, being stolen from, slow customer service. Here we're going to speak about the internal factors, and it's mainly about thoughts. It's coming from you, from inside you. And I think that what we need to change, what we need to improve this area. So thought could be from negative self-talk. So negative self-talk is very powerful and affects people in very negative way. So when you spend too much time telling yourself you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not talented enough, or even judging yourself very harshly or very intense way, it becomes very triggers. Remembering something that made you angry, yeah, our memories bring some situation and mix, and the situation you feel right now at the moment, you're very angry. Smell is very, very powerful triggers to our memories. So I remember that I was attending one of the workshop, and we had a public speaker was speaking about her experience while she was captive by ISIS. And she was explaining that one of the punishments that they do, they cover their body with honey and they leave them exposed outside and just for insect bites or bees bites, it's just kind of torturing them. So smell of honey becomes very triggering for this population. So smell is very powerful, especially if odor take a direct route to the limbic system, includes the amygdala and hippocampus, they're responsible for emotional and memories. So smell can be very, very powerful. Worrying about personal problem, for example, missing promotion at work, relationship difficulties, or family issue. So how anger affects us? In physical level, anger triggers the body, fight or flight response. This response includes fear, excitement, and anxiety. The adrenal glands flood the body with stress hormone, such as adrenaline and cortisol. Heart rate, blood pressure, and respiration increases. The body temperature rises. Also can affect the pattern of sleep, appetite, pain, immunity, headache, abdominal pain, insomnia, increase in anxiety, depression, high blood pressure, heart attack, and even stroke. And socially level. So anger can contribute to add unhealthy pattern to our relationship, and less likely to have healthy supportive relationship with family, friends, co-worker, and colleague. Also, for people that experience chronic anger, they usually become verbally and physically abusive. And for sure, gonna reduce the intimacy within personal relationship. Separation, loss of one's family. Like, usually people doesn't really understand the impact of our behavior on others. And even we're trying to pushing all kind of help from others. And by this way, we become very separated from them. Poor communication, again, with argument pattern, people doesn't really like to deal with angry person. Emotionally, feel overwhelmed, regret, guilt, feeling helpless, trouble organize or manage your thoughts, fantasy about hurting yourself or others. In work placement, we having interpersonal conflict with bosses or coworker, making judgment errors. In the heat of the moment, people are less likely to want to work with you or for you. Clients, customer, patient try to avoid contact with you, increasing turnover and reduce productivity. Environment, break stuff, holes in the wall, throughout things. So what are the diagnostic criteria for anger problem? So anger itself doesn't really consider as a mental disorder, and there is no set of diagnosis of anger problem in the new edition of Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorder, DSM-5. However, there are more than 32 mental disorders, such as borderline personality disorder, include anger as a symptoms. And I used to work with one of my clients that she had borderline personality. And you can see when she got triggered in any situation, how it's like going from anger as emotion and to aggression action very quickly and very fast. So what I'm saying here, it may, and sometimes your anger problem, it may caused by underlying mental illness disorder. So the main type of aggression. So aggression has many types, but I'm here gonna speak about the main two types of aggression. The first one, primal aggression, which we can't really change because that's our body, how we feel and react. So we can't really change about that. It's adrenaline-driven physical changes. The cognitive aggression, second type, I think we can here change that by practice, by tools, by training, and intent-driven strategic and tactical planning. So we can change that. The aggression cycle. Okay. So the aggression cycle intend to identify and explain how people go through phases of aggression with focusing on the cognitive aggression. The three phases are escalation phase, explosion phase, and post-explosion phase. And escalation phase include trigger phase. And we already spoke about triggers and how people can be triggers with multiple factors. And actual triggers, it happens in daily basis. And we find a way or another to cope with it, either in work, either in family, like you find a way to cope with it. But when it goes to escalation phase, the stress here goes beyond the individual abilities. And the body language, behavior, and verbal aggression increases. Also, denial and minimize of incidents. It's very common this stage, like everything is good, just one thing, I'm totally fine, I'm not gonna do it again. It just like is not serious issue. So denial is very common this stage. Also increases the hostile self-talk and negative self-talk as well. The second stage gonna be the explosion phase. So the explosion phase, individual here lose control of verbal control, judgment control, and physical control. And for sure, as a result, we're gonna go for act for violence, verbal aggression, and controllable discharge of tension, major destruction. And the last stage gonna be post-explosion phases, which will be the consequences for our action. Either we'll end up in jail or losing work, financial cost, lose of family ones and loved ones, guilt or shame. So anger management technique. So anger management doesn't mean removing the feeling of anger. As we explain, anger, it's a part of human emotions and we can't really change it. But how we express it in a healthy way and using it to enhance our life, that's the goal for anger management. And when we say that we need to control our anger, it means that we need to control the frequency and the duration of your anger. Anger management will help you to become more aware of your triggers, teach you more productive way to respond to the feeling, and provide you with the skills to deal with the internal factors. And here we're saying internal factors because we can't really change the world outside. We can't really change in controlling the external factors. But what we can do is the situation gonna be there, is not gonna change. The trigger gonna be there, is not gonna change. But what we can change, it's us. How we think about it, how we feel about it, how we express it. Anger management practice. So before to get to the tools, how you manage your anger, you have to understand certain point first. The first one is develop your self-awareness. Understand your triggers. So I need to understand more about me, more about myself. What's really make me angry? What is my trigger? And identify aggressive acts shown by self and others. That's very important. And how we can do this, using journal, one of the very powerful tools that we usually using with clients. So using journal usually use it to monitor ourselves, including trigger and causes. So sometimes, like if you have time and would like to have that, you have your journal in front of you and you have to write down how you felt in this situation, what's triggered you, why you felt so angry about it, and how you dealt with it. Did you succeed about it or not really? So you need to really write everything happens. And this will help you to make it visual for you. It will easily to process and understand it and see it carefully, what's really happening in the situation, reflecting about what's happening. So it's gonna give you an idea what's really happening there and gonna prevent you from feeling denial or feeling that nothing's there and it's okay, it's just one thing happens one time. So some people use the journal and it worked very fine with them, and other people not really. So you have to develop your self-awareness, understand what really make you really understand what's happening. What's the best for you, how we can monitoring that, what's the best for you. Understand that the more I learn to take care of my anger, the more powerful I become. Understand the power of positive self-talk and recognize the negative self-talk. So positive self-talk and negative self-talk is very powerful. And you have to understand and you have to listen the conversation and the language that you're speaking to yourself, what I'm telling myself. If it's negative self-talk, you're not good enough, you're bad, you're not smart enough, you're not good enough, you're not doing the right job here. Or I'm using the positive self-talk. And for some people, they're gonna think that the positive self-talk is just a flipping of negative self-talk. It changes the language without negative self-talk. Actually, it's more than that. Because in positive self-talk, you need to give self-compassion to yourself, understanding who you are. So with training, you can practice how you listen to your conversation and how you identify which language you speak to yourself. Take responsibility and avoid blaming everyone else. Do not take everything personally. Do not jump for conclusion. Listen, sometimes most of our problem, we're not listening. We're just jumping to the conclusion. He said something, he meant that, he wants to do that. So just very quickly jump to conclusion. And that's for sure gonna trigger your anger very quickly. So what we can do now, how we can improve and control and manage our anger. So I rated some tools here. For sure, there's a lot out there. I try to pick some that we usually use it and it's very common, and I hope you find it useful as well. So the powerful tool, gonna speak about the CBT. So CBT is a common type of talk survey. And CBT is about what you think and how that affects your emotions and affects your behavior. And CBT is changing the pattern of thinking. Can it change the way you express your anger? One of the examples I want to speak about it today, one of example of CBT is cognitive restriction technique. And in this technique, it's taking a hard look at negative thoughts pattern by self-monitoring. I want to make a self-monitoring to understand what type of thinker am I. So I choose the most common type of thinking, negative type of thinking here. I know that lots of there, but again, it's more common, and I'm seeing that in my work a lot and my real life a lot. So the first type of negative type of thinking is overgeneralized or catastrophizing thinking. And this type of thinking usually find people that they're gonna think when they have any situation or have any problem, the only thing they think about it, it's a worst case scenario. What can happen, it's a worst case scenario. They have to imagine what is the worst case scenario can happen out of this situation. And these people think this way, maybe because they have bad experience or trauma, or they have anxiety or depression. And they're trying to predict the future by this way. And for sure, future, you can't really predict it. So the problem with this type of thinking is our unconscious mind doesn't distinguish emotionally between what is imagined and what is real. And your mind gonna understand that it's happening, and this worst case scenario, it's happening and it's for real, and you're gonna put you in severe stress and under severe stress. So the suggestion for this type of thinking, they were suggesting that using logic and calm support network. So find someone you trust, and when you have a certain situation, discuss it with it. Sit down and explain clearly what's in your mind. Let your friend help you out to find multiple solutions, not the worst case, multiple solutions. And also when you do that, try to put it as it's not your problem, it's other one problem, and look at it, it's not really your problem. And by this way, you're gonna find many ways to solve your problem. The other common type of negative thinking is black and white thinking, good or evil, none in between, either black or either white. And these people actually fails to put qualities of positive and negative of self and others together. And again, the suggestion to help them out of this thinking is by you reframe your thinking. So catch your thought, challenge it. If it's true or not, the way I'm thinking is that's real, it's just in my mind. Other tools you use, like do not use absolute words. Do not say ever or never. Every or never. Because life full of possibilities and life it's full of uncertainty, and you can't really have the answer for everything. So the benefit of this technique, the cognitive restriction technique, the benefit if you use it, it's lower stress, replace unhealthy coping mechanisms, rebuild self-confidence, and manage anger. The other technique, and I believe like most people try to use it already and try to practicing, is a relaxation technique. And I feel it's very powerful at the moment of anger or any negative emotions that you have. Relaxation technique is very powerful, very helpful. And usually it's a method or process helps person to relax. And by inhaling and exhaling slowly 3 deep breaths. Sometimes you do your imagination to visualize a relaxing experience as well. Yoga, one of the tool for relaxation, and many people, and I'm one of them. I found it very useful to relax and build the strength in your body. So, and it's like it's like exercise may also help relax your body and make you feel calmer. Problem-solving skills. So problem-solving skills refers to our ability to solve problems. And to be honest, if you don't have these skills or you're not developed it yet, you're not going to manage your anger, because anger is not justified when your plan doesn't go as planned. And when that happens, do not focus about solution right away, but rather than focus about how to address and improve, how address a problem. And learning the skills of problem-solving technique and steps is very important. For example, when you have a problem, the first thing is to find the problem. Try sit down with yourself. What is the root for this problem? What I need to figure out clearly without any emotion, without any anger. What is the problem really? List possible solutions. So again, don't go for the worst case scenario. No, don't go for black or white. This only solution. If it's not happening, if it's not helping, I'm not going to be saved. I'm doomed. So just replace that with putting lots of like couple of solutions, at least 3-4 solutions, and evaluate the option. Look to them. See which one you feel like it's more gonna save the day and more gonna help you out through this problem. And create a plan to start working on it. And don't forget to measure the result. For example, if your results succeed and the solution that you used, it was very good and was very effective, okay, that now you succeed and now you understand how you go through the process of problem-solving skills. But if you're not, you have to go back and figure out one of other solutions that you write it there, and you have to apply it again until you reach your goal. So, and this kind of skills is not going to happen in one day or another. It takes a long time. It takes long practice. And but eventually, if you establish that and if you have the skills, it will help you a lot, not just with anger, with stress, with all problem in your life. Communication. So in argument conversation, do not jump to conclusion, which gonna be is inaccurate. Slow down. Think through your response before lashing out. So think about it before you act. remember to listen, because most of our problem, it comes from for us not listening to other people, not really listening. Everyone has to prove his point of view without really listening what other people saying or trying to explain it. So listening to them gonna avoid from jumping to conclusion, and for sure gonna avoid trigger you to be angry. Good communication can help you to resolve problems before your anger escalation, and for sure we need to prevent that from going to this phase. Like trigger is there before escalation phase, and we need to deal with our triggers here at the moment, coping way with them before we go to escalation phase, because once you stepped in escalation phase, you're gonna go for more toward verbal aggression, and as we explain, or the cycle of aggression. Using humor. So humor is a healthy way of coping with strong emotions, especially anger or emotional pain, depression. And actually, I learned that from my clients. Like in the darkest day, in the darkest moment, they use sense of humor to diffuse their anger with very strong emotion, very strong feeling at the moment, and humor actually helps them to diffuse this anger. And some people saying it is the best medicine to using your humor. And honestly, I'm trying to apply it with most of my clients because it's very powerful and it's very useful. But you have to do it in the right way, in an appropriate way, not to go for like be rude way or inappropriate way and give the message you're not respecting other. And there's some step can help you to keep your humor with you. For example, keep funny things with you, keep funny comics in your phone, keep like short story, funny story, or whatever in your phone or with you. Do something you enjoy and relax and feel funny and happy about it. Spend sometimes with people that you like and really make you happy and feel and make you laugh. Um, changing your environment. So again, we're coming back for triggers. So triggers, you have to be clear about what makes you triggers. It's either sound, it's either voice, it's either smell. So clear your environment with anything that can make you irritation or fury. The last thing, give yourself a break and self-care. So if you went back to the last presentation I gave to the premarital meeting, it's about stress management and practice self-care. So there are lots of tools there about self-care and how you're practicing and adding to your routine as a self-care. I just add some point here. It could be personal time. Most of us is just working and come back to the house, they have their or other interests in the house. So would not really provide sometimes for us. So it's very important to have personal time for yourself. Music, that's helping for me, like it's very helping for me, and if that's helping for you as well, please use it. I remember I was reading one book about for Bob Shinoda, and he was speaking about music and how music is very powerful, and even sometimes it's very powerful than many lectures or even reading the most important books in the world. So music is very powerful, and you have to try to find your taste about it. So, for example, when I get out from work, and usually my day was very tough, once I get my car, I just put music. I have to be careful what kind of music I put it, because this time has become very sensitive for me. So, for example, if I put sad music or religious music, Christian music, and it's all the message about you are a very bad person, you are a very sinner person, and that's will make you feel like overwhelmed. It's not what kind of music that you're looking for. I'm looking for relaxing music. I'm looking for Christian music that with soft message that you're loved and God is there and everything. It's beautiful with God, something like that. So you have to find out music and to match the situation. Every situation has his own music. Is not normally our mood is different, what we accept is different. So I have to figure out that. So music is very powerful, and I'm really suggesting for anyone to start identify what they interest and what they like. Walk in nice weather, and again, you can put some music as well with your phone, and you can listen to it, and all this kind of stuff. The reason of it to make you more relaxed. When you added the self-care in your routine, you're gonna find yourself it's much relaxed. For example, when I dealing with my job and it's very intense and daily basis is too much stuff, and the way I reacting in the job, it's much different when I practiced self-care. So when I added self-care to be a routine in my life and dealing with the hard moment or hard situation, hard cases, I feel my response is much different than before. So that's the goal. That's what we need to reach out. But before that, when I got to any hard situation, I'm just sometimes I got very triggered or anger or anxious or any kind of emotion. But with self-care in the equation, with all the tools that we spoke about, it's really helpful. And I'm suggesting for anyone to start in doing that. I'm done here. I'm very happy to have any question.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sarah. Always wonderful preparation, amazing presentation, and full of experience. I want to start actually by commenting on the music quote. I saw actually that quote one time. I think you posted it from this book. Yes, I love it. In fact, me personally, I can relate to music a lot, having both Pasoni and Stephanie, musicians. Let me read what Stephanie puts in her signature in every email she sends. She says, music gives a soul to the universe, wings to the mind, flight to the imagination, and life to everything. It's a quote from Plato, but it is actually very true and very deep. It gives the soul to the universe, wings to the mind, flight to the imaginations, and life to everything. So I agree with you actually that music is so wonderful. Tasoni will tell you that music can somehow stimulate the brain to actually make it more receptive to information, not just on a calming way, but even in a study and achievement and accomplishment.
Yeah.
But music has that divine effect. I agree with you 100%. Let me open the floor for others to comment. I will go in sequence. Peter, do you have a question or a comment?
Thank you, Abuna. Thank you, Sara, for the talk. It was amazing. Actually, I have I catch only one, not only one appointment, but one point. But it was a good one. It's about raising the self-awareness about yourself to control your anger. That was a very good one. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Actually, this morning I was chatting with someone, and just to be in line with what you were saying, Peter, and what Sarah said, Saint Anthony in his writing, there are like many messages that Saint Anthony wrote to his disciples and monks, but in one of his writing he said that know yourself so that you can know God and know his dispensation. When you know yourself, because you are created in the image of God, this is the only thing that actually allow you to know God. St. Augustine also say, well, should I know you first or should I praise you first? I could know you, then praise you because of that knowledge, or I could know and praise you and know you after. But you know what? I need to start by knowing myself so I can know you. We are created in God's image. Know yourself here doesn't only mean to know your name and all of that, but what Sarah said is all about self-awareness and self-actualization. It has massive effect, not only on anger management, but on so many other mental health perspectives. Thank you, Habib, for that lovely comment. Osama, do you have something?
it's muted, Sam.
تمام اوكي. اسامه لو muted عايز you wanna say something?
Unmuted. Unmute if you want to say something.
Yeah, first I want to thank Sarah for that much of effort she's done for the past few days to get prepared for that amazing presentation. For one of the things like to comment and just to try to get a kind of us to how to train ourselves to get our stresses behind, especially for work, and to be just on like be let's put everything behind, like especially after a stressful day. And maybe on the next presentation we want to know more about the CBT techniques. That's one of the things we're very much interested to know about.
I'll let you comment on that, yes, sir.
I think Abuna is the best one to do that, and for sure, if Abuna wants that, I can do it for sure.
Definitely. CBT, given my engineering background, CBT is all about mind and changing thoughts and all of that. And actually, I had that as one of my pillars in every session, every therapy, everything like that. But I would love you to actually prepare something for us on practically how can we do the thought change process, and how can we reconcile emotions, how can we defeat self-defeating thoughts, and all of these lovely things that you touched on today. If you can do that, that would be amazing.
That was that's very nice. And also that was a good part, like it's to define the big difference between anger and aggression. That was a very good part, actually. Sometimes we feel that getting like an anger, it's not the good thing, but it's a good thing actually to know the difference between the anger and aggression, and how to manage that. I like the ways for how to control those kind of things, for like, I would say a treatment, or to get a good control on that part. Thank you so much, Sarah, and thank you so much, Abuna, for that interesting topic.
God bless you, حبيبي. هو أنا برضه I want to thank Sarah for that. قول يا بنتي اتفضل.
I think the part about anger and aggression, it's very important, because most of people try to deny that they're very angry, because it's like something bad, it's stigma about it, and I can't really, I'm not going to be a good person if I'm feeling angry. So when I was doing the presentation, I was read over, and I found it's a common thing, and people doesn't really want to admit that they feel angry, or they're not good. It's not good to deal with. So it was very good to explain about the differences, because anger is really part of our emotion. We can't really deny it. And there is one movie that I really love. It's called Inside Out. And it's an animation movie. And it speaks about and in our mind, there is lots of many parts, part of joy and part of sadness and part of anger, part of love. It's all this part, it's working together and shape human being. We can really disclose one of the feeling, because other one it's better. And in the movie was showing that joy was trying to take control the whole time makes the person happy, but in the process she forgot about sadness, and how sadness is very important and has powerful in how we shape us as well. So I really encourage anyone to watch this movie. It's very good, and actually the first time I watching it was here in school, and it was very insightful.
Yeah, this movie is amazing to show how different kinds of emotions, they are part of who we are. As you said, we can have like a movie night for all the group, and we can watch it together. I watched it like a couple of times. It's really good.
Yeah,
people might feel بس in here childish at the beginning, but it's so deep.
Exactly.
My last comment, Abuna, about triggers. Triggers. It's very nice for us. Triggers are different for everyone. It's a very good point. Like if everyone is able to diagnose what are the triggers for each is different, because if we know the it's called a kind of like a diagnosis of the problem. So if we're able to identify for the triggers for each one of us, that will be amazing to, I would say not to prevent, but to minimize the chances of getting angry. So that was a very good, actually, to emphasize on that part for identifying triggers. Thank you so much, Abuna, for the time. Thank you so much, Sarah, for the effort. And I hope
absolutely, Habib. Absolutely. There is something called anger mapping. And the first step in that mapping is to identify what upsets you and make it so personal, not just general. Like you can say, well, I am upset because I wasn't invited to the wedding. I'm upset, or what triggers me is when my wife doesn't like or comment on how I organize the dishes. This is like mapping the triggers, knowing the triggers, because that will actually help later on in treatment plan.
It's literally so.
But that's a lovely thing. Type Nozahi and Mervat, you have a comment you want to say or a question you want to ask? I'm just going in the order I see. Right. Until you can do that, Michael Gergis, you have something you want to share?
Thanks, Sara. Thanks, Abuna. I have no comments.
Rabia Habibi. Hani, do you have something you want to say?
Yes, Abuna, peace and grace, first of all. Even though I did not catch the presentation from the beginning, in fact, I just caught the last two slides. So I was wondering if there would be any chance this specific session can be replayed or rebroadcasted somehow, unless it's already captured by video. So I can, go. I just can, watch it from the beginning.
It is captured by video. It's actually YouTube video. I will send you the link, Habib.
Okay, great, because I feel this is very important matter, especially to myself. So this is something that I would love to, to work on it very heavily. Absolutely.
Absolutely,
Yes.
Habib. I'm so happy that people in Texas are still interested in listening to the Winnipeg talks. I'm really amazed with that. Thank you so much.
No worries, and thank you, it's Abuna, for letting me know. However, I just had one more question though. I don't know Sarah, Michael, but is she like is she like, is she special? I mean, does she do private sessions on this matter, or this is just something, just for the purpose of today's meeting?
Well, Sarah for us is like she comes and gives us talk from for the premarital, but she works somewhere in the system. Go ahead.
So I'm working as a social worker. I'm a registered social worker. I'm working at Family Dynamics. So my role there is case management, and we provide lots of education, lots of support to our clients. So this session sometimes will be for a couple people and just sometimes for one client, especially the other presentation like cycle of abuse and stress management, and for sure anger management. So all this kind of presentation, sometimes I doing in one-to-one education, and sometimes or like couple of session, like couple of people there, and like private session. And for Abuna, like for premarital meetings, sometimes he invite me, and I will do the same for the group as well.
Great, thanks for your introduction, Sarah. But so now if I would like to, like if I want to do a private session, so what are the steps or procedures?
Well, if you need like a therapy, I think you need to sit down with Abuna. He's amazing with that, and I really recommend it. And for sure, I can help as well. But if you need like one-to-one counseling session or therapies, are going to be Abuna. He's very talented about that. Even before getting his master, he's a very talented person about this area. And for sure, if you need any help, I can help you out as well, for sure.
Outstanding. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Ala, would you have a comment or question?
I would leave the mic to Hala to keep myself safe first. Safety comes first.
Thank you, Sarah, for a great presentation. Great as always, and we appreciate your talks and your sincere, the effort you put there, and your knowledge and your experience in your work and life and everything. I don't have any special comment other than we would love to have you all the time. Your talks are always very interesting and very fulfilling. Thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you, Abuna, for everything.
God bless you. Ala, do you have a comment or question?
Well, Sarah, Hala said the good things. All the thank you in the world. I have questions. Number one, in the communication, you said quite often we don't listen. Very easily said, oh, we need to learn to listen. But why am I listening if I just have the correct answer in my brain? And if you just like stay quiet and listen to me, I'm going to tell you the good answer. I don't know if this arrogance or this stupidity, if this lack of knowledge, how on earth our brain works like this? Like before the person starts talking, you're preparing your answer to tell her why she is or he is wrong. And how can't he see the wisdom in my opinion? This is crazy, Sarah. And I've been working on this forever, and I still catch myself like blanking, not listening and answering. You think, Ala, if you really want to repeat what the person said, you will fail to repeat that because you're not considering it. Is there, I don't know, I'm working on it, but the progress is mega, like, it's like the stock market. Some days I feel like, oh my God, that was easy. I listened to them, my problem is clear. And you go back to the default, like, why do you need to listen? Just tell them the right thing. So help me out.
So I totally agree with you. And we all have the same issue. So how many times we've been in conversation and I know that the answer, what I'm saying is the right thing. And I'm trying to be polite. I'm just listening to the other party because I just want to be polite. But in my mind, that's all nonsense. My view is the right thing. And it takes for me personally lots of time to switch that. And there is a technique called active listening technique that's I learned it in social work field and I learned it with clients. And by active listening, it's gonna change all in your mind about just listening, and my answer would be the right thing. I'm going to say that because I'm just gonna keep going, but I know eventually at the end of the day, my voice is the right one. And sometimes I don't have time and I'm being like irritated or just like cut the other person. That's it, that's my view. And by active listening technique, I think it's very helpful because it's gonna switch you from the positions that you wanna jump to conclusion and from positions that you just wanna listen to others. You wanna just, and it's not about whose opinion is the best, it's about how I'm really listening to other people. Because some of the topic is not really about like argument topics. Some of the topic just you listen to someone, you want to help him. And even that, if you just want to help them and in mind have like a typical scenario, typical story, you should do that or you shouldn't do that, it's gonna prevent you for continue listening by active listening technique. And we can have like lots of session about just active listening technique and how you're being just open and being using certain way, like even to develop a certain way for question, to ask a question, open-ending question. It just have like a technique, go step by step in order when you sit with someone. And us as a helper, it's very important we have this technique, especially if we're doing counseling or support counseling, we need to learn this technique. And by learning this technique, it's gonna improve a lot. So when we have any conversation with anyone, when we sit one-to-one to anyone, we're not gonna jump to give conclusion, we're not gonna jump to give an answer. Actually, we're listening and reflecting about what they're saying. Most of the time you're reflecting and summarize what they're saying in a way or another. And you find yourself, you don't have to jump and give your view or your answer right away. So I know I didn't explain much about the technique, but it's gonna take lots of time to speak about how we apply it. I hope that was
I'll search the active listening technique, and that might be my nighttime before bed stuff. I have another comment about when you said triggers and you said waiting for too long in an appointment or being in a hospital or being in a place. You clarified the anger and you clarified the aggression.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there is a bit of confusion in the Middle Eastern culture between the line between anger and aggression. And I'm saying this because I've witnessed very honorable people that were stamped on their charts as a violent or risky partner because of the way they presented their anger when their loved one was going through a process. Part of it, I don't know, part of it, they feel, oh, I'm not man enough if I did not fight for my wife or for my daughter or for my whatever. And once you start having loud voice, once you start like slamming things, security is being called, and the consequences are beyond imagination. Like for you to be flagged on the list of patients in the hospital with a red star next to you, that this is a violent partner, this is crazy. And these are honorable people, but I don't think that they were clear in their mind what's the consequences in the culture, how much tolerance people are going to take from you, how much of that is anger or aggression. So I'm so grateful that you clarified there is a fine line. You're angry, but you don't be aggressive, because this makes you lose all the battles. All of a sudden, you have no say. All of a sudden, you become like somebody that is avoided. So thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah, and especially if it's combined by back experience or trauma or so normally the triggers is there, as we explained. The trigger is there every day, is not going to change. And it got worse if you have a bad experience or have already trauma regarding certain situation. As you're saying, people, it's just normal situation. Your wife going to have a surgery or something. Why you have to panic all this? Why you have to go for the extreme reaction? Because what they have been through before. And trauma, it's really affect our reaction to anything. And as we said, triggers sometimes. One small triggers is nothing. It's really, it's nothing for you, but for other persons, it's huge. For example, I have one of my clients. He was a refugee and he just came to Winnipeg, and the settlement service put him in a house, or I'm sorry, his apartment and his building, and fire alarms there. But for some reason, he didn't understand very clearly about fire alarm. So one day, very late time, the fire alarm just go crazy. As he was explaining, we heard the crazy sound. I'm not sure what is come from, and this sound was crazy loud. He freaked out. He has all mixing of emotions. That is like, is that war happening? It's something bad happening to me and my kids. If I'm fear helpless that I can't really help them, all that because of fire alarm. And it takes a long time to process, and he's freaking out. The kids are crying, and he feel like he's not good enough, and he is not a good father because he can't really protect his children. And he just like freaking out and doesn't sure what, and he got really angry, start to throw things around the house, freaking out, and become very angry. And eventually he looked at the window, find a lot of people outside, and he felt like he was very late. He put himself and his kids in a really, really dangerous situation, and end up, the result was crazy. He was just like jumping around, he just like cursing. Eventually he got his kids and get out. He was just like trying to fight with firefighter, like what's happening? Why you didn't tell us? What's going on here? So that's only happened because it's just fire alarm start on, and he went crazy. So we triggers differently, but how we reaction, it's really related to with past experience, with our trauma. So it's very sad when see people like they're not usually harmful or is not bad people, but just to go from just anger as emotion and react to the extreme, which is aggression action. And it's very important to educate about that, and it's very important to try to manage before it's getting to the aggression phase. I totally agree with you, Dr. Ala.
Okay, I think we allowed everybody to comment or question, and I hope that today's session was useful for all of us. It's just an introduction to anger management, a highlight, high level, but always Sarah manages to open the door for these lovely talks. We're definitely gonna have more and more talks about that. Before we pray and conclude, any other question or comment from anyone? Okay, so once again, Sarah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let us all conclude by the verse that says, be angry and do not sin, which means honor your emotions, somehow allow yourself to feel certain feelings, but don't let that reach the point of sin when you actually act in your anger or aggression, all of that. In the name of the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit, one God, amen. Thank you, God, for this lovely, amazing discussion we had. O Lord, you are the source of all peace, so we pray that you grant us peace and establish your peace in us, O Lord, so that we can live in tranquility while still live in reality and interact positively and negatively with whatever atmosphere around us within the boundaries of whatever is acceptable by you. We ask you, O Lord, to bless our emotions, our feelings, and our behavior. We ask you, O Lord, to really allow our minds to always abide in you, to be filled with the thoughts that pertains to eternity, and to allow every one of us, O Lord, to manage, facilitate, control the anger in certain ways that are suitable for your lovely ambassadors on earth. Hear us, we pray, thankfully, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptations, deliver us from the evil one. In Christ Jesus our Lord, thy kingdom, power, glory, forever and ever. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God. Amen. Thank you all for listening, and thank you for being with us, and thank you for those who attended remotely. Now go in